Hi, good morning, folks. Game day. The Sabres are back in action as the Sabres host the New York Islanders. Let's take a look at it coming up. I forgot it was an afternoon game. There you go. I mean, I look, I'm like, oh my God. I was going to do the pregame like around an hour from now, a little later. I got to get on it right now. Good thing I just decided to look. For some reason, guys, I forget these things. I just do. You know? So, let's take a good look at this because we play at 12:30 and so do Detroit. This is the game I'll be watching. Pittsburgh and Detroit also. I'll be keeping my eyes on that one because this is where I believe we can really kind of clinch fifth. If we can win this and they lose their game to Pittsburgh, we're in great shape for finishing in front of them. So, let me get to my clips I want to shoot. Let's take a look at the practice lineup, okay? Here we go. Okay, there you can see the first line, Skinner, Thompson, Olofsson. Second line, Middlestat, Krebs, and Tuck. That's interesting. Third line was Asplund, Cousins, Okposo. And the fourth line was Bjork, Gergensons, Hinostroza. And then you got Eakin and Hayden as the also-rans at the bottom. Then you got, this I found very interesting also, Samuelson and Dahlin. And then you got Power, Jokiharju, seems to be the fit they're doing there, and Bryson Fitzgerald. I like the idea of keeping Dahlin on the right. Why not? Let's see what happens. And then at the also-rans at the bottom are Butcher, Miller, Pizik. I mean, it's no surprise that they're going to start playing the UFAs less and less, guys. It makes sense. It's 100% makes sense. It's almost you know, important that we get our young guys in there playing, and we'll see. Maybe we'll see them today at some point also. Anderson and Tokarski. So. Something they said in practice, something happened with Anderson, he left the ice, so I don't know anything about that as of yet. And something else I want to show you. Found this really an interesting clip. Check this out. Here we go. This is since March the 20th, the top defenseman in the league in scoring. And take a look at Dahlin. There he is, number 5. And you can clearly see he's right in with the big boys now. That's going to be permanent, folks. This isn't going to be a one-month thing. You know, Carlson has 17 points in 14 games. Hannafin has 17 points in 16 games. Riley has 16 points in 16 games. Makar has 15 points in 15 games. Dahlin has 15 in 17 games. And Yossi has 14 in 15 games. So expect to see a lot of that in the future now. I mean, now that, you know, when these players come into their time, this is really what happens. This is what happens. They stick around. And I think a guy like Dahlin is here to stay now. I don't think ever again will he have like 20 points in 50 games or something. It's just not going to happen. So he's back playing hockey again, having fun again. Granato really was good for his career. And now the New York Islanders. Yes, hold on. We got to talk about them because they're standing in our way to our 31st win. And the Islanders, their last 10 games are 4-5-1. We're 5-5. We've won 3 in a row. They lost their last game. They're 16-18-5 on the road. And the the Sabres, sorry, are 15-18-6 at home. We could still finish 17-18 at home, which isn't so bad. I mean, really, it's not so bad. I mean, you know, it still, I want to win as much as we can, to accomplish as much as we can. Now, Detroit and Buffalo, okay? Now, Buffalo, 79 games played, 30, 38, and 11. And Detroit, 78 games played, 30, 38, and 10. So this is it. This is really it. This is the stretch drive. I figure we got to win 2 out of 3. Okay, we got the Islanders. Then we play in Boston, and then we're back home to Chicago. So 2 out of 3 to finish up the season at home. And Detroit, let's just check them for a second. Detroit are at home against Pittsburgh today. Then Sunday, they're in New Jersey. And then they close out the season in Toronto. So this is their last home game. We could finish in front of them. And I know a lot of you thought I was maybe a little nuts still chasing Detroit before we went on this tear. Solid finish, I'll say. And it's not really a surprise because the Sabres can, I just think, have the better team. I mean, I know they've had kind of our number when we played them this year, but they also had a lot of luck in some of those wins against us. So I want to catch them. I want to finish in front of them. And it's going to suck to think that that one game that we blew in Buffalo and they beat us in overtime is maybe what cost that from happening. But then again, I look at it like then if that does happen, well, maybe the hockey gods want them to finish lower than us in the lottery. So we'll just see how that works out. So the boys are going to come into this one, I'm sure, a little hungry still. This Islanders team is not exactly going to be a cakewalk. We're going to have to really fight them hard to win this game. The Islanders will come in best they can to beat us, so it's not going to be any easy game at all. I'm sure the Sabres will have their hands full. This is one of the best defensive teams in the league still, and it's not going to be an easy win. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one there. So we're going to have to just give it our all, and hopefully the passing game will continue into this one. Let's hope Tage gets a few goals and excites us that maybe the 40-goal thing could happen. Would be nice. It really would be. I'd be really excited to see something like that happen, guys. I would be. You know, I want to touch on another note, though, before I forget, because last night I was going to mention it. I said, no, I'll talk about it today, and I want to talk about Guy Lafleur. Guy Lafleur, for me, is, you know, I grew up, of course, in Montreal, so I've got to see all of Lafleur's career. I've seen how he dominated the league. And it's funny, I was talking with a buddy of mine. We were up till all hours of the night talking on the phone, talking hockey, which is what we do. Abe, my friend Abe, him and I were talking, and he brought up a good point. He said, you know, Wayne, he goes, it's not often a player can say he was the best player in the world, not just on his team, in the world, you know, and that is true. And Abe's my friend, that's the Oilers fan, you know, he's a big Oilers fan, and we talked about this, and you know, looking back, and it's hard to believe these guys are gone. Mike Bossy, Guy Lafleur. It just, you know, there's no words for it. And, you know, looking at this and remembering these guys, and I know I watched Guy Lafleur when he was the best player in the world, and when Mike Bossy was the best goal scorer in the world, really, at the time. And this was all happening at once. You know, we didn't realize the gift we had back then. We just didn't realize. And then to top all that off, guys, while those great hockey players were having their great careers, then this kid named Wayne Gretzky came into the league, you know, all at the same time. And to top that off, this other big lanky kid from Quebec named Mario Lemieux came into the league. So, you know, it was a ripple effect of greatness that came into the league in really in a 10-year span. I mean, Lafleur came in the early 70s and Lemieux kind of in the mid-80s, right? It was 83, 84, around that era, but it's kind of in a 10-year span, really, that it all came to fruition, that all this greatness was in the league, dominating it. And 2 back-to-back dynasties, watching the Habs 4-year dynasty, which, folks, I'm telling you, that didn't see it. Anybody that did see that era and says that the Montreal Canadiens were not the greatest team assembled of all time are just bitter fans, really. They're just bitter fans. Because that Oilers team, yes, was a great team, and yes, that Islanders team was a great team also, but that Habs team had zero weakness, and I can't say that about any other team ever. The Oilers had holes in their defense in the 80s, you know, they did. And because they just played the defensive system. People that talk about the transition game and how how the offensive games develop. It's sad they didn't get to see the Oilers back in that day, because that would have been fun for them. Believe me, that loved the offensive game. And, you know, getting back to Guy Lafleur, though, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I have all the intention of going to his funeral like I did the Rocket. When I went to the Rocket, I missed out on the Belleville funeral. I can't remember why exactly, but there was a reason I couldn't go. So I do plan to go to the Guy Lafleur. And I went to a Rockets funeral out here. And when they had it, folks, I want to tell you something, okay? When they had it, you seen all these big hockey names. You seen all of them. They were all there at the Rockets funeral, all of them. And you know, Scotty Bowman to all the former prime ministers from the country were there. And they got this real, like, lame clap the prime ministers. Nobody likes politicians out here. And anyway, that's another story. But I went to that funeral. And what impressed me about the Rockets funeral, I'll never forget. And folks, it was a sight to see, okay? Out here, and you see people on their roofs. On the roofs of high-rise buildings, looking down. And there was thousands and thousands of people lined up all in the streets, and you would figure there'd be some kind of disorder. There wasn't. There wasn't. There was no disrespect. There was no, you could hear a pin drop. You felt it would be rude, okay, during this time when they brought out the you know, the casket and everything. When you didn't talk, you just observed and you watched and you respected. And you know, as much as I hated the Habs in the 70s, guys, I have the utmost respect for this franchise. I really do. It's a Class 1 organization that sadly let politics and the French barrier get involved, okay? Because when you start bringing language issues and politics into sports, that can destroy a franchise. And I know, because I've watched the Habs since the 60s, I know that's what happened to this franchise. I know that's what's happened to them and why they've become a mediocre franchise the last 30 years, because we keep bringing the language barrier into it. We keep bringing politics into it, and that has no place for sports. It just doesn't. The Habs' best era was with Scotty Bowman and Sam Pollock, you know, running the show. That was their best era that they had in their entire history. So, but, you know, for Guy Lafleur, I'm sure it'll be much of the same. This city, I could tell you, if it's hurting me, I can't imagine Habs fans how they're feeling today. So condolences go out to the entire organization. I mean, I knew it wasn't good about Lafleur. I knew it wasn't good because you weren't hearing. At Montreal, when something's about to happen in Montreal, the way the pattern is out here, guys, there's usually no smoke. It usually just comes out. Something just comes out, and Lafleur, obviously, they kept a lid on it, and they weren't gonna, like, you know, they didn't want to make a zoo of his passing. I understand that. And same thing with Mike Bossy, you know, like I said it before, I'll say it again. We need our heroes, guys. We just need our heroes, you know, and when they're taken from us, we're all left with an emptiness. Even if they weren't on our favorite team, they were still kind of our heroes as kids, some of these guys. And I'm sure some felt the same way for Gordie Howe. I can't imagine what it'll be like when, you know, if I live to see the Wayne Gretzky passing one day. I can't imagine how that will be. The whole the NHL would feel. And it's like that here in Montreal with Guy Lafleur. For me, Guy Lafleur was the greatest Hab of all time. For me. He was absolutely probably the most exciting Hab ever. And yeah, I seen a lot of reruns, but you know, original 6 team, yeah, there was 6 teams. So it was just 5 other rivals. It was just kind of different. So it's a different era, you know. But what the Rocket did was amazing. The impact he had on the city was amazing. Like when I seen that funeral, it just was so damn touching. It really was. And it will be much of the same with Guy Lafleur if the family allows it. I don't know if they're going to, but if they do, I'll be going. I'll have to go. There's no way I can't go to that. And ironically, and I'll close on this, where my daughter's mom, where I made her memoriam for my daughter's mom, right up about 200 feet from where her resting place is Rocket Richard. I didn't even know till I went to see Tracy's memoriam one day with my daughter, and I just was walking around the graveyard, and there was the Rockets just there, just alone, you know, and humble almost it was. So I just can't believe he's gone too. What a week, what a month, you know, but life on life's terms, guys, life on life's terms. So Guy's gone home, and he's, you know, I'm sure him and Mike Bossy have a lot to talk about. They were big-time rivals, and now they're in their eternal grace together, these guys, and you know. So that's just my thoughts on that. You know, I'm thinking back to like 6 50-goal seasons, and you know, he won the Hart trophies, and you know, there's, you know, so many things I can go on. The Art Ross trophies, and it's just hard to understand sometimes, right? When it's larger than life figures. And I do want to mention this before I forget, though. I remember when I was a kid, my first hockey game I went to, the Habs won 12-3. It was in 1975. Guy Lafleur had a cast on his hand. His season was done, I believe, at that time. And he just came off his first 50-goal season, and he was a larger-than-life figure. And there I was. I got Jim Pappin's autograph. My dad and him grew up. My dad was best friends with him and Eddie Shack growing up. Jim Pappin and Eddie Shack and my dad were all best buddies. They were a trio of buddies, just for the record, in Sudbury growing up. And then I seen Guy Lafleur behind the window. I'm like, oh my God. You know, you're a kid. You're a 13-year-old kid. You're freaking out. It's Guy Lafleur, best player in the world. Here he is, right in front of my eyes. And I just seen him talking to some trainer or something. And my dad says, come on, go in, I'll go with you. Go get it. I said, Dad, it said right there, back when English signs were allowed in Montreal, said no admittance allowed, positively no admittance, nobody, not allowed in there. My dad just pushes me in. Said, come on, we're going to go see him. So I go up to him and I just stand to him and I go like this, you know. That's my paper. And right away, enjoy the game, kid. And that was it, you know. That's it. It was that easy. And then I turn around and I look, my dad's not even with me. He didn't have the guts to walk in with me. He made me go in alone. So, fond memories. And yeah, the Habs won 12-3. I remember Cornway got 5 goals in that game. And Cornway was in a slump, and I seen him in the pregame skating, and the guy looked like a rocket out there, like a rocket. If you thought Pavel Bure is fast, you should have seen Ivan Cornway, kids. I'll tell you right now. God, I mean, these were legends, you know, legends, and we've lost a big one here again. Bossy, now Lafleur. So God bless them both. All right, folks, I'll see you in the post game. Have a good one.